Outsiders issue 2, Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing writing with Robert Carey on the art. Now, this was one that I left till the last few books thinking, oh, if I have to make a cut, maybe this is the one I do. Because I ended up enjoying issue 1 more than I thought I would. But I kind of thought, maybe that was just like a one lucky issue 1, maybe. And then I read this and went, nah, I kind of really like this book. I'm kind of digging like the weird things that it's doing in the story. So this is basically, it's not the Bermuda Triangle, it's a different triangle, but it's basically at the turn of the century, meaning 2000, this storm started in the ocean and it's not stopped since. And Kate was actually stationed when she was in the military, in the Navy, on a boat that's witnessed this storm, so she's got a connection to it. So it's her that wants to investigate this. And looks like, well, I mean, I don't see why you want to necessarily, but hey, I brought you on board, I should trust you. So now we also have Drummer being the third member of this team, like seemingly as a regular feature. So we have the trio going to investigate this triangle, and we get glimpses. We get a 2-page spread at the start of the monster, but I'll save talking about the monster till later when it pops up properly. So it's like, okay, they're going to go and investigate this other anomaly. And I'm like, you know what? If this book's going to be like these one-shot stories of Kate, Luke, and Drummer going and finding like monsters and paranormal shit and like Lovecraftian things, I could be totally into that.
Yeah, it's kind of like superhero X-Files, right?
Kind of, yeah. And obviously the big thing here is that when they get to this triangle and like they mention how the Atlanteans don't like people traveling here, they run into the challenges of the unknown, who have got this big sea tank, is the best way I can describe it, and they come off as pretty obnoxious, to be honest. Like the way they talk to the outsiders, we get this sort of like POV perspective as they're obviously being introduced to each member of the team and going around the ship, and they're all very kind of cocky, and they're like, hey, we've got rights to be here. We have a pass from Atlantis to be here. So you should turn around and go away. And they fly off. And there's a good 3 pages here of all this introduction stuff. And then it's just one panel look saying, yeah, we're not going to do any of that. Like we're going to go look where we want to. So they go submarine diving into the water, looking for whatever it is. And the challenges of the unknown have like these underwater mech suits and basically try and stop them. So that's where a lot of our fun action sequences come from in the middle of this. This is the sort of stuff where it might feel like, depending on whose hands it's in, and especially with like Lansing and Kelly, I feel like they sometimes can be a bit wordy and like the flow's not quite there. But credit where credit's due here. I thought this flowed really well, so I enjoyed the action sequences. But then it got to the really fun stuff, which is that the graveyard of giant skeletons at the bottom of the ocean, and they're like, shit, what is all this crap? And they're all kind of in shock and awe. Batwoman goes out in like her underwater bat suit that Luke's made for her to like investigate.
Yep.
Like, it's all very pretty. It's all very kind of that sort of like aquatic horror stuff going for it. And then we get a reveal of what the actual monster is, which is, the best I can describe this is a shark head and then like a really buff human like torso and then crab legs. Is that would you agree with that description?
Yeah, he's like a shark centaur, but the bottom instead of being a horse or as a crab, and then there's like, he's almost like a sharktopus on top too, because there's like a squid tentacle
that's like
going behind him.
Yeah, that's coming out of his back. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really well thing. And then this issue goes in an interesting place where they realize that this thing is probably about as old as this storm, and that this particular monster is actually just a child, but potentially. So Kate, while she's going to go in and try and destroy it, she ends up just kind of saying, no, like, we don't need to do this. Like, you're just a creature. Like, there's no reason to kill you. It's almost a Superman story, actually, in that sense, where this is not about just destroying the monster. There's enough people who hunt monsters. We don't have to have more monster hunters. If it's here and it's not hurting anyone by being here, then let's not do that.
Yeah. So they say, look at all the the bodies around it, right? And so one of the challenges, like, oh, so it's a runt. And one of the other was like, no, she's saying it's a kid, right? Imagine this boneyard was your home and that these bodies were all the family that you had left. Imagine being that alone. And I was just like, oh man, look at these two. You're making me feel for a monster. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Drummer says, "Oh, maybe I do like Kate." This is the first time that she's kind of liked what Kate said. So sure enough, like the issue ends with them leaving the water, and there was a little joke here that I liked though, which is that the challengers tried to wave at them as they're leaving and they're playing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, they didn't wave back." I actually thought that was a little bit funny.
Yeah.
So
did you notice what one of the names of one of the challengers was, and what he looked like?
I didn't know. Go on.
So his name was Crunch, and he had red hair, much like the kid from Danger Street who loves grapes. And
I did not notice that. Oh, very good.
So and then the fact that it seems like these challengers are built from people across the multiverse, or the dark multiverse, or whatever they said at the beginning. So it makes me wonder if this is an alternate version of Crunch.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Which I kind of like as well.
Yeah.
So
can I just say my favorite thing about the whole book, though? I love aquatic horror. I love the monster being there. I love the fact that we're treating it as if it's it's a creature. It doesn't deserve to be killed just because it exists.
Right.
But my favorite thing is that the last page is a full page spread of the monster, and I swear it's dancing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it looks like he's happy.
He's got his devil horns up, and he's doing a dance. That's the only way I can describe this pose at the end.
Can you still two-step when you have 8 legs? Or is it called 8-stepping at that point?
I mean, with 8, you can have a dance that's a 2-step, a 4-step, a 6-step, an 8-step. You can
do it all.
Yeah, you can do everything.
But if this is what this book's going to be, like you were saying, this is going to be kind of superhero X-Files-y, I am super here for it, because I like this. Like, we don't get this too much right now, because there's a lot of continuity in a lot of the big books. So to tell these little weird stories with characters, on the periphery,
it feels so.
A book that I always like.
Yeah, it feels so different. Like the first issue was there's this weird ship that's got some weird like anomalies happening. We're going to investigate that. And then this one's a giant sea creature that's here. It just makes me think, well, okay, what could issue 3 be? It could be anything, really. I could probably go look at Solicits and find out, but I'll be surprised. I'll let myself discover it next month.
Well, and also knowing that the challenges were created by Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, who also created, Captain America, and their concepts, at least Kirby's, lends itself to the weirdness. So the weirder this book's gonna get, I feel the better it's gonna end up feeling.
And much like the first issue was playing on the planetary and the authority stuff a little bit, and like fans of those things were noticing stuff that we were never going to. I feel like there's probably stuff in this from Challengers of the Unknown fans or whatever that are going to notice things that we would never notice. But it's fun. The fact that it's working, even if you're not getting those little references, is a good sign.
For sure.
Right.
When you said Challenger of Unknown fan, I automatically thought of the meme of there are tens of us.
I mean dozens. You're thinking of Arrested Development.
Yes. No, that's what it was.
Yeah. There are dozens of us. Dozens!
So, but yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. And I'm curious to see where it ends up. I also like Luke and Kate, their whole dynamic, right? Where, she ends up wearing the suit that he built specifically for her. And
they've got some bantering as well, or some bickering that's kind of entertaining. Like, she's like, oh, okay, how many times have you went underwater with this thing? And he's like, I just built that feature yesterday. And she's like, we have to talk about your operational parameters here. And he's like, I paid for it. I picked the parameters. So just their bickering seems fun because she's so anti what he is in a lot of ways. And then Drummer's kind of this interesting wild card who just knows a lot about things. So, yeah, I think the art's pretty solid, actually. I think all the monster stuff looked great. Like, all the art's good, but the monster stuff especially
even all
good.
The more... Yeah, even all the more 90s stuff, like the big mech, like that tank submarine.
Yeah.
Right? It's big and blocky, and all the weapons that Crunch has there, when you get to his page, it introduces him, and all the details are there. So.
Yeah. Is it spelled the same way? Is it Crunch with a K in the other book?
Yep, Crunch with a K. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, very curious.
And he's topless. He's the topless challenger. He's walking about with his muscles out the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's because when all you eat is grapes, you can do that.
All right. What are you giving Outsiders issue 2?
I'm going to 7.5.
Yeah, I'm tempted to go with the 8, to be honest. I think it's pretty good.